For all those new players or New Game Plus players looking to cheese their way through Godric, this has to be the cheesiest. It will also cut out that annoying second phase where he turns his hand into a dragon for some reason. Just remember, when you hear that enemy felled noise, come back and hit that sub button. So step 1, you'll want to head over to Celia Understair first and grab the spirit summon Rotten Stray Ashes. This spawns on a dog with Scarlet Rot. If you haven't explored Caelid yet, just run east from the first step site of Grace to Dragon Burnt Ruins. Head downstairs and you'll see a chest behind a door. If you open that chest, it'll teleport you to a cave 10 steps away from Celia Understair. And the spirit summon just happens to be exactly between the cave and the Understair. To get out of the cave, once you're there, just come out of the little shack, turn back on yourself, drop down and keep running in the same direction until you're out of there. Step 2, now that you've got the spirit summon, head over to Godric's front door. 3, traverse the mist and instantly spawn in your summon. Step 4, while your summon runs over to Godric, you're going to want to try and get a little aggro. Use something at range like throwing knives, a bow or some magic. Just try to let your dog land at least 5 hits on Godric before it gets completely wiped out. Step 5. Once your summon has been obliterated, all that's left to do is stay away from Godric. For some inexplicable reason, his second phase will never kick in, and his health will continue to drain from the small amount of Scarlet Rot. It is worth mentioning that if you run over and start hitting him a bunch of times, he'll most likely buckle and start screaming, which will initiate the annoying second phase, so don't do that. Boom, Godric defeated. Okay, so this is a whole new way to take down Radam. I know everyone loves the Rotten Breath technique, but this is quicker and you don't even have to go anywhere near Radam to drop him. This is a one-shot in a sense because he'll take damage once and then die, and here is how you do it. So step 1, spawn in through the teleporter, but don't pick up any of your allies. Step 2, hop on your horse and start heading towards Radam. Make sure you dodge all of the arrows he sends your way. Step 3, get just close enough that he stops firing those annoying arrows at you, pulls out his sword and starts following you. Step 4, head west until you run into the cliff. Then follow the cliff along the direction you came from until you see a tree branch. Step 5, from here you should see a small gap just to the right of the tree branch. You can use your horse to run up it. There will most likely be a lot of bloodstains and messages around here, so look out for that to make sure you're in the right area. 6, use your horse to double jump up the gap. Once you're up, double jump over to the tree branch. 7, now the trick here is to do it slow enough that Radam can follow you, but fast enough that he doesn't obliterate you. I did this glitch on a new character before even visiting the round table hold, so Radam could have easily one-shot me. 8. If Radam doesn't follow you up, you're going to have to edge your way over to the gap you came up and begin luring him. Eventually he will follow. Now he's up, just head over to the tree branch and Radam will eventually fall off of the cliff and die. It's gotta be a 4-foot drop, but clearly he doesn't like being up too high. And that is it. Easy.
What a sick way to fight, eh mate?
Whether you've broken into Redmane Castle before the festival and Radam boss fight, or you've come back to look around after taking the Star Titan down, you're gonna bump into this annoying duo. But don't worry, there's a simple way to kill the knight and his pet cat without having to take them on. Just remember, when you hear that enemy failed noise, come back here and hit that sub button. So step 1, just as you enter the boss door, spawn in a spirit summon. This is just to distract the misbegotten warrior whilst you get into position. 2, once your summon has begun the distraction, start heading directly north. On your right you should pass 2 tables. 3, after the second table, turn east. You'll see a bench near some crates in front of you. Sprint at the bench, and once you're touching it, jump onto the crates. 4, from here begin spinning in a circle to build up a little momentum, and then hold the sprint button and jump east onto the big barrels in front of you. 5, from here, just wait. Either of the 2 bosses will eventually catch sight of you and run over, but what they don't know is they're about to get a big whiff of cheese. Both the Crucible Knight and the Misbegotten Warrior can jump up on the barrels too, but what they can't do is follow you down the little gap next to the barrels. Slip down there and watch as the Crucible Knight floats above the gap because he's a plump sort. and eventually the Crucible Knight will die of floating, which just leaves Kitty. Whiskers will jump up onto the barrel just like his friend before him, but he's a little smarter than the Knight. He'll actually jump between the barrels, letting you smack him with your sword. Yep, much smarter than the Knight. Eventually you'll have defeated both bosses and you'll get that tasty enemy failed noise. You are welcome. A lot of players have asked us for a Reichard cheese, as he seems to be quite difficult. I've learned quite a few complicated ways to cheese Reichard, but this seems to be the simplest and most effective way. So step 1, now you don't have to, but I found it a lot easier summoning a friend here, as the whole process only lasted 2 to 3 minutes, and we probably only took damage once each. And yes, I know what you're about to say, but if you're friend challenged like many of us gamers, have no fear, because our Discord server has hundreds of Elden Ring players looking to duplicate runes, help you with bosses, and trade weapons. The link is in the description. Step 2, whether or not you've grabbed yourself a friend, head into the room and grab the spear sword thing on your left. Your friend's gonna need that too. If you didn't grab a friend, don't worry, we'll cover the technique for you friendless folks too. 3, run behind Reichard and have your friend stand in front of him. Step 4, Reichard will begin to attack one of you. As he does, the other person should hit him with the charged attack on the newly acquired weapon, which is L2 for PlayStation, LT for Xbox. This will stun the boss. 5, now that Reichard has been stunned, use the follow-up move to hit him for double damage. He will then slowly turn around to the attacker. 6, as he's turning toward the attacker, the other player should now use the same technique, which will effectively keep Reichard in a stun lock where he keeps spinning to hit a player and getting distracted again and again. If you didn't bring a friend, you can just as easily replicate this by hitting him with the charged attack to stun lock him. Once you see his arm touch the floor, you can use the charged attack again, and he'll be stuck repeating these animations as long as you hit him only with the charged attack every time he puts his arm down. Just make sure you don't use the follow-up move, as this will break him out of the stun lock. And good news, this works for both of his phases. Boom! Reichard defeated. Okay, so I've seen a lot of people covering the after patch cheese exploit for the fire giant in Elden Ring, and while they are showing you how to do it, I feel like the out of bounds jump is being treated as a simple jump. Without properly knowing what to do, I genuinely thought making that jump was harder than actually fighting the giant in the first place. So I'm going to teach you how to do the cheese, and when I get to the jump, I'll go a little more in depth. So step 1, this step also seems to get glossed over, but make sure you're going through the correct boss door. There are in fact 2 doors you can enter, and it's incredibly important that you go through the correct one. So make sure you go through the boss door to the northeast. Don't go through the higher up, small triangular shaped door that's over to the southeast. 2, now that you've definitely gone through the right boss door, you just want to go up and to the right on your horse. When you're at the top, you should be able to see over a ledge facing northwest. The area in front of you should look like this. If it has this extra rock part here, then you've gone through the wrong boss door. 3. Now this is where we're going to jump off of the ledge. This is the part that confuses a lot of people, and they usually end up writing "it's patched" in the comments because they can't do it. But fear not, it isn't patched, it's your own ability holding you back. So here's what you've got to do. You need to jump from the ledge past the invisible barrier. Once you pass it, you need to jump again, almost back on yourself to the right, and then land on the platform. If that didn't make sense, don't worry, because it didn't to me when I watched videos on it. So here's a really poorly drawn diagram I've made to help you visualize what it is you're gonna be doing here. You're gonna want to come at the ledge at an angle, not quite facing the barrier, but not quite parallel with it either. You need to get far enough so that you can jump back with the double jump and land, so any contact you make with the barrier before the double jump is going to slow you down. So run and jump at this angle. Once you clear the barrier, hit jump again and aim for the ledge. Here's a slow motion clip of me making the jump. Before this jump, I was throwing my horse into the barrier, trying to get as close as possible, ready for the second jump, and it killed me every time. 4. Hopefully now that's a little clearer for you and you've made the jump. All that's left to do is cheese the giant. So run southwest to the elevated area just past the site of grace and near the other boss door. Now just wait for the giant to come close enough that you can attack him with arrows or magic. One thing to note here is he can still hit you with that shield move where he flings dirt at you. If, like me, you got pretty bored with how slow his health went down during this cheese, you could just fight him by staying under his feet and combining the Ash of War Bloodhound Step with the Rotten Breath incantation, and you'll melt the fire giant's health away pretty quickly. Have fun. So, a few people have covered this, but I feel like making the jump to get into the right spot isn't covered in depth enough. So that's what we're going to do. I'll go over the whole process, then when we get to the jump, you'll get some more info. So beating Melania in Elden Ring feels impossible. She's got range, she's got Scarlet Rot, she's got whatever the hell that is. But have no fear, fellow Elden Ring players. Elden Ringers? This is some of the stinkiest cheese that will reduce Melania into a laughably easy boss. But remember, once you hear that enemy felled noise, come back and hit that sub button. So step 1, this fight will go a lot smoother if you prep everything you need. And be sure to take away any extra items so you haven't got to mess around with scrolling through a million things. So here's what you'll need. Egil's Flame Incantation from the Dragon Altar. You can get it from defeating Egil. You won't need this, but I'd recommend getting Bloodhound Step just so you can stay out of her way during certain parts of the fight. Then for melee players, you'll want the Falling Star Beast Jaw. You can get that from the boss fight here. And magic users, go and grab the Swarm of Flies incantation. I'd really recommend everybody use Swarm of Flies. It shreds through Melania's health, and you can get that from here. You'll need your strongest summon, some chunky armor, and finally, you'll need a good shield, one with 100% physical damage negation. 2. Now that that's out of the way, head into the boss room and Bloodhound Step around Melania. She'll start to run at you, but she won't really commit to it straight away. It's probably because she's exhausted from all the other times she's had to kill you. Once you get past her, it's time for jumping into the cheese spot. So this is what it looks like. Take a good hard look at it. Now this is the part you need to be going up. Burn this image into your brain. And now that you know where you're going, here is how you do it. Approach that part I mentioned before and walk at it slowly. You can do this a bit faster, but I recommend doing it super slow and carefully. Don't sprint at it and definitely don't jump at it because it just won't work. Take it slow, you've still got time. Like I said, Melania's knackered from all that fighting from before. When you reach the top, jump at the platform and quickly use Egil's Flame. This will lift you slightly higher and plop you on top of the platform. Side note here, if you don't do the spell quick enough, you'll be stuck in a floating animation for about 60 seconds and then you'll die. 3. You can now lock on to Melania, get your shield out and your weapon of choice and just spam her with them. For the melee players, obviously you'll have to use the special move for the jaw. So there are 2 moves that Melania can still hit you with, but that's what the shield is for. The first move is that stupid spinny attack. She jumps in the air and freezes for a few seconds first, so you will know that that's coming. The second is the 6th move of a slow combo, where she ends it with an overhead slash. This is very easily blocked by a shield. Side note again, you can interrupt both of these moves if you're spamming Swarm of Flies. Step 4. You're likely now close to finishing Melania off, so quickly replenish any health and FP you have missing. If it's safe to do so, switch your shield out, get your summon ready, and just as she's about to take that last bit of damage, switch out to your weapon that has Bloodhound Step. 5. Now you've kicked her ass, the cutscene will begin. Watch it, skip it, I don't care. So annoyingly, the cutscene resets everything and you'll be back on the ground. On top of this, Melania is about to do the ultimate move, and it will almost certainly one-shot you. The only upside here is if you spammed her with Swarm of Flies, she will have actually lost a chunk of health during the cutscene. Although it sounds like it, this video is not sponsored by Swarm of Flies. It's just a very useful spell. So once you've skipped the cutscene or watched it, you'll still be locked onto her, so immediately unlock. And then Bloodhound Step away and keep doing it until she hits the ground. From here, Melania has to take some time to recover, which is the perfect opportunity to summon in your Ash summon. I went with Lutel the Headless just because they phase in and out, meaning they take a lot less damage. but they still keep the aggro. You can also just as easily have a friend or two join you for this fight, and you can do this cheese while they take the aggro. 6. Keep bloodhounds stepping around until you are certain that Melania's attention has been diverted. From here, get back into the spot from before. 7. Annoyingly, each time your summon or friend gets hit, Melania will gain some health. But that's nothing compared to the damage you're inflicting. Then step 8, if your summon or friend isn't doing their job properly, Melania will occasionally be underneath you trying to ruin your day. Although you've only got to worry about the same moves from before, so you should be fine. However, if she's alive for long enough, Melania will do the exploding flower move that again can near enough one-shot players, especially as it inflicts Scarlet Rot. Hopefully she'll aim this at your friends, but if you're unfortunate enough to have her do it near you, you're going to have to jump down, bloodhound step around until your friend can divert attention, and then climb back up. After a while doing this cheese, Melania will be defeated. Boom. Sponsored by Swarm of Flies. So you've arrived at the Godskin duo and you're ready to quit Elden Ring for good. However, I have an alternative solution for you. Instead of letting these Hercules villain looking chumps batter you, try this. So step 1, you're going to need a bow. You're this far in the game, so I'm going to assume you know where to get one. 2, you'll now need to craft or buy some St. Trina's arrows. Fortunately, if you fast travel to the Academy main gate, run through the East Seal, follow the grassy bridge all the way down, ignore the 4 or 5 packs of wolves, and get to the end, you'll see a merchant. You can buy 20 St. Trina's arrows from him, and then you can also buy the cookbook so that you can make more of them if you need to. Although I doubt you will need any more for this fight. Now that you've bought all you need, kill the merchant because this video tells you to. Or let him live, I'm not your mum. Step 3, it's time to fight the twins. So teleport to the Dragon Temple, run past this guy and the second guy. Don't bother wasting your time on them. And now traverse the mist. 4, pop out your bow and shoot one of the Godskins with your new arrows. After 3 to 5 arrows, they'll get a purple beam appear above their head, and then they'll sit down and fall asleep. Step 5, ignore the enemy you just put down. Now sink 3 to 5 arrows into the second guy. As soon as you see the purple beam, stop shooting. You don't want to waste any arrows here. Step 6, once he sits down, walk over to the first Godskin that fell asleep and hit him with the most powerful thing in your inventory. Don't stop hitting him until you defeat him. It takes them a while to stand up once you wake them up, so really take advantage of this. If you're a mage, I'd recommend using the Cerulean Hidden Tear in your Wondrous Physic Flask for that unlimited FP boost. And then try shooting him with Comet Azure. I found it incredibly simple and it put him down in seconds. Step 7. As you may have guessed, you're now going to do this with the second boss. And step 8, once you've done this, they'll both spawn back in, but they won't have as much health because their health is a total of the big HP bar at the bottom. So repeat what you just did and it will be even easier this time around. Boom! Godskin duo defeated. A lot of people struggle with command denial. He's got a couple frustrating attacks that can one-shot the lower leveled players, and he's got those mates he summons in at the beginning, and they are ridiculously annoying. But fortunately for anyone struggling out there, we've got an easy cheese. Just remember, once you hear that enemy felled noise, come back and hit that sub button. So step 1, grab yourself a bow and 99 poison arrows. You can buy unlimited poison arrows from the merchant here in Caelid. 2, make your way through Castle Sol to the church to this site of grace. 3, sneak out of the entrance of the church to the north. Don't let this guy see you, and then turn right. 4, in front of you there's a ladder. Head up it and turn left and start running north. 5, once you reach the barrels, turn your camera, wait for the wolf to begin walking away from you, then crouch run to the stairs just past the little bridge. 6, once you get up the stairs, jump on the lower part of the north wall in front of you, and move yourself around to the eastern part of the lower wall. 7, when you're in position, there should be a green flag on the castle wall in front of you. Zoom in with your bow and you'll see small square holes in the castle wall. Aim for the second one in and you'll be able to hit command denial with your arrow. Then 8, keep shooting until you get that tasty enemy felled noise. Boom, command denial defeated. Okay, so they patched our Radagon and Elden Beast cheese. They patched the glitch where you can fly on a horse and both bosses die instantly. They basically patched all of the good stuff.
But thankfully, I've found a build that will defeat Radagon and the Elden Beast in 2 to 8 hits depending on your level. It actually took me under 3 minutes to defeat Hoarlu, Radagon and the Elden Beast in one go. It's super simple, just make sure you get everything in the list. And remember, as soon as you hear that enemy failed noise, come back and hit the sub button.
So firstly, let's talk stats. These are my stats, obviously you don't need to copy them completely, but it's worth putting as much as you can into Arcane and Vigor, with Mind and Dex being a secondary thought. Everything else is up to you. For this build, you're going to want the Scavenger's Curved Sword. This is actually an incredibly simple weapon to find. It isn't hidden behind a boss or a ridiculous labyrinth of a dungeon. It's just outside, sitting on a dead body, and you can find it right here. You're going to need 2 of these. There are a few ways to do this. If you're in New Game Plus, it's likely that you would have picked one up in your travels before, so you'll simply need to head over and grab it again. If not, we have a video on duplicating weapons and runes. I'll link it in the description. And we have a Discord filled with hundreds of Elden Ring players looking to duplicate, trade, and fight bosses together, so definitely get some help in there. Now that you've got your curved swords, let's talk Ash of War and Infinities. So the curved sword already does bleed damage, which is great. The high arcane we talked about earlier is going to help give that a little boost too. So for Ashes of War, I put Bloodhound Step on my right and Seppuku on my left. A lot of people would argue Seppuku should be on both, but I like to zip around using this build, especially when fighting the bigger enemies. You will thank me later when you do this. For affinities, you're going to want to choose a cult for both weapons. This means that your swords will now scale with arcane. That high level arcane is really going to come in handy. For your head, you'll want to use the white mask. This boosts damage when blood loss is in the vicinity. This boosts your damage by 10%. To get the white mask, you'll need to do Ver's quest line and be rewarded with the Pure Blood Knight's medal. Use it to teleport and fight the 3 invaders in the blood pool. I got the full armor set from the second invader. For the chest, you'll want the Raptor's black feather armor. This enhances jump attacks, which is exactly what we'll be doing. This boosts damage by 15%. You can get the Raptor's black feather armor here. We actually have a video that goes into more detail on where to find it. I will also link that in the description. For your hands and feet, choose anything that offers a nice chunk of damage negation without causing you to fat roll. I went with Malekith's armor here. All of these talismans are useful and contribute towards insane amounts of damage, so don't skip any of these. Firstly, we have the Lord of Blood's Exaltation. This, like the white mask, boosts damage when blood loss is around. This gives us an extra 20% damage. With the white mask, this gives you a total of 30% boosted damage when there's blood loss in the vicinity, which, FYI, will be the whole time. You can get the Lord of Blood's Exaltation here. Secondly, we've got the Claw Talisman. This gives you a 12% boost to jump attacks, which means in total you'll be receiving a 27% bonus every time you jump attack, which, FYI again, will be the whole time. You can find the talisman here. We also have a video that goes into more detail. I'll leave it in the description. The Rotten Winged Sword Insignia, which greatly raises attack power with successive attacks, which, guess what, it's going to be the whole time. The attack boost will start at 6%, but keep climbing to a whopping 22% attack boost with each hit. To get this talisman, you'll need to get to the end of Millicent's questline and help her defeat her sisters. And finally, you'll want Millicent's prosthesis, which boosts dex by 5 and increases attack power with successive attacks. The attack boost starts at 4% and eventually goes up to 11 with each hit. To get this talisman, people seem to think that you need to get to the end of Millicent's questline and kill her, but you can actually get it earlier by killing her at the Windmill Heights Site of Grace after killing the Godskin Apostle. The Green Burst Crystal Tear is incredibly important to use here. It boosts stamina recovery speed, which will help out a lot considering we're going to be jumping and swinging our swords around. The second tier is incredibly important. It ties all of this together beautifully. All of the other equipment you'll be wearing gives just under a 100% boost to your damage. You'll also be using Seppuku on top of this. And remember that your weapons are set to the occult affinity, which, if you set your stats right, will already mean crazy damage for your dual swords. Well, this tier, the Thorny Crack tier, makes consecutive attacks grow stronger the longer they continue. Meaning each time you hit the enemy, the damage increases on top of the 100% damage boost from everything else. I'm pretty sure there are more intricate and impressive ways that these items are stacking together, but I don't have a calculator to hand and you don't care. So let's just say big damage. So how does this build work? Well, before you walk into the boss room, get seppuku done, drink your flask of Wondrous Physic, head in and just start jumping at the boss and hitting L1 for PlayStation and LB for Xbox. This hits the boss with an attack that strikes them 4 times, which triggers everything you're wearing related to successive attacks. The seppuku and the natural blood loss of the curved swords will trigger everything you're wearing that boosts attack power when blood loss is in the vicinity. Your high level arcane will boost that as well as the sword's initial damage due to the occult affinity. And then the jump you're doing before the attack is triggering everything you're wearing that boosts jump attacks. With each jump strike you'll do more and more damage, and it should only take a few hits to take down your enemy. And as a very helpful tip to all the viewers that have stuck with me, use the Mimic Tier summon with this build. The fact the summon has all of this equipment as well doubles the rate in which you kill the bosses. Not only are they a great distraction for letting you get in those extra hits, but they are great at keeping the blood loss going for your attack buffs.
And that is literally it. Once you've got everything you need, you'll be dropping Radagon and the Elden Beast in seconds.